In Anambra State today, there is anger, recrimination, and a cry for justice. From Obuaniocha to Wipele and beyond, the people feel battered and bruised by the brazen dispossession they have suffered in the hands of Sterling Exploration and the energy-producing company, SEEPCO.
SEEPCO came into Obaru local government, well, like His Excellency, the Governor of Anambra State would always say, through the back door. They came in through Imo State, never registered their presence with the state government, maintained no offices in Oka or Obaru or Atani. And so basically found themselves hidden inside Anambra State and concluded exploration and now commenced drilling. They drilled a number of wells, no less than close to 7 to 8 wells. I think that in fact they still have two rigs on location. SEEPCO has been operating without respect for constituted authority in Anambra State.
While the oil-bearing communities count their losses in blood and tears, the government of Anambra State is outraged by the temerity of SEEPCO to sneak into the state like a thief in the night and operate steadily for half a dozen years without official notice or approval.
Apparently, the company had been in Anambra working under the covers of the night since 2014. And when the state formally got wind of them, the company was shut down.
So we shut them down and stopped their operations, insisting that they must come and register their presence with the state government of Anambra State and also come clean on what they're doing. The governor granted them audience. Their group managing director led their team. They accepted that they've been operating in Anambra State. Call it illegally because no ministry in Anambra State had any documentation of their operations. Their managing director, the group has agreed that within 1 week, he was going to formalize their presence in Anambra State.
So they gave us assurance, gave the governor assurance in June 2019 that they will do the needful, they will tell the state what production they are doing, whatever they are doing at two host communities. Needless to say, they went back onto the site. We know from communications with the host communities that there's always some sort of fractionalization of the communities. These people are for the oil company, these people are for them doing the right thing. So there's always commotion in the two communities.
Indeed, the people of Anambra State consider it ironic that SEEPCO, an Indian company that flaunts integrity, transparency and respect as its core values, could engage in a shadowy exploration of oil in Anambra for 6 years without a pang of conscience.
We had to bring in senators. The Senate committee came. SEEPCO did not allow them to access their facilities. It got to a point when we now got the Minister of Environment. The governor had to write letters, and the Minister of Environment upon it sent a team to a fact-finding mission, and then realized that in actual fact, SEEPCO is operating and is at a very advanced stage of operation in Anambra State without EIA, without any permits. So the minister ordered a shutdown, an official formal shutdown order. The last time I gave technical advice that the governor should allow their rig, because that time they had a functional rig. The first time we shut them down, because if you don't and you have problems, you could have a blowout, and the blowout can devastate the entire Obaru local government. So this time again, they appealed to be allowed to lift the shutdown so that they can move their rig. The team from Anambra State, the committee member, went to effect the shutdown from the Ministry of Environment, and they attacked them with armed naval ratings and shooting. So it was then the governor now decided to go to the Mr. President, complain to Mr. President. The presidential committee was set up.
While the complaints are legion, the most potent charges leveled against SEEPCO are that the company has been operating without any attempt to conduct the mandatory Environmental Impact Assessment (EIA) and without the standard permit from the Department of Petroleum Resources for exploration, well drilling, pipe laying, and facility construction.
Due to our pressure plus the Ministry of Environment, Federal Ministry of Environment, in their letter to His Excellency when he kept on complaining, agreed, yes, that these people are mining OML 143, but the OML 143 traverses Anambra State. But all their environmental impact assessment that they have says nothing about Anambra State, that they have now ordered them to go back and do an environmental impact assessment in Anambra State, in Okigbelogu and Yocha and the environment.
Other charges include that SEEPCO has been operating without any verifiable engagement with its host communities in Anambra and no attention to corporate social responsibility or community development projects of any kind. The company is also accused for not making any efforts to properly acquire the land where the explorations are going on and for lack of attention to the havoc wreaked by its operations on the lives of the people and the environment of its activities.
Now, they started laying pipes across the River Niger. Do you know that those pipes they are laying have capsized a number of canoes and flying boats? And that company is telling the world that they are not aware that there were casualties. And for pipes across the Niger to capsize a boat means it was badly laid.
An aerial surveillance of Obaro local government has revealed all the clandestine activities of SEEPCO in the area. With neither scruples nor conscience, SEEPCO workers have been plundering the oil wealth of Anambra State without the least concern. They have developed guerrilla routes in the swamp and creeks through which tankers and barges ferry crude oil from Anambra to the neighboring states of Imo and Delta, where SEEPCO has a legitimate presence.
And then they have dug up pits all over the place. They were burrow pits that have turned into lakes. And you know that area is prone to flooding. They laid pipes across the entire area. And these pipes were laid without any engineering, without due process, without following the normal procedures, with no permits.
To many observers, it is a thing of profound shock and horror to suddenly realize that someone had the audacity to poke a finger in the eyes of Anambra State. The sense of outrage has been as loud as the growing sense of injustice across the land, and the verdict is that SEEPCO has treated Anambra State with neither fairness nor respect.
His Excellency has put pressure on all the powers that be to shed light on what SEEPCO is doing. And I think we've actually got some mileage from it, because His Excellency the President of Nigeria is aware, the defense headquarters is aware, anybody is aware of what is going on. Of course, the Department of Petroleum Resources, we've been copying them on all the letters and all the things that we've been saying that SEEPCO has not done right.
It is not often that a multinational oil company engages in activities that run against global best practices. What beggars imagination, however, is why it picked Anambra of all states for such underhand practices.
As a matter of fact, at some point, they carved Oguibele into Delta State and carved Ogu and Yocha into Imo State. You can see how terrible the situation is. And forgetting the fact that these two communities are in Obaro local government, and Obaro local government is in Anambra State.
In fact, the company is reported to have induced serious divisions between families and communities and armed one section against the other. The rivalries it has promoted will not go away without a determined counter-effort.
What they did was to plunder this community. At the end of the day, they give them little money. Maybe 500,000 here, 1 million there, take over their farmlands, take over the fishing ponds. When you give a few people, then you leave the few that appear to know what is going on and say, no, don't do this. Of course, those that have collected some large amount of money, will begin. So they now polarize the community, and brothers against brothers, sisters against brothers. And this is what you just have. They started fighting each other.
Because of the lagis they brought, there was crisis in Oguibele in particular, where a 70-year-old man was hacked to death and two others shot dead by people that the oil company encouraged to be causing violence.
There have been reported violent clashes between factions that claimed lives. The unspeakable anguish, the deep sense of dispossession, and the successful pitching of brothers in a mortal combat against one another by SEEPCO has made frank expression a tedious undertaking among many.
They have succeeded in turning the youth of Oguanocha to militancy. There's nothing you cannot see in this Oguanocha. Even some boys there is handling guns, some boys there is handling all dangerous weapons, just to make sure that they have their way in getting something from SEEPCO, and they are working with SEEPCO. Even to an extent of wanting to crown somebody while we have a certificated traditional ruler of the community, to make use of him as their own Igwe in extorting money from the oil company. They killed one person with gunshots. They injured the other person on gunshot too, and damaged more than 300 and something buildings in the community.
Predictably, the growing outrage over SEEPCO's activities led to the hosting of a stakeholders engagement at the Agolo Lake Hotel on November 5th, 2020, with a view to bringing all the parties to a round table.
I'm hoping that this is the last of these stakeholder meetings, and that after here it is all implementation.
The event had the Governor of Anambra State, Chief Willie Obiano, and the Minister of State for Environment, Lady Sharon Ikazo, in attendance.
This event was convened to address the activities of SEEPCO in Anambra local government, which plays host to the Amish field within OML 143. Although several oil block concessions traverse Anambra State, only 2 companies are today actively operating in the state. These are Orange Petrol Resource, operators of OPL 914 and 916, and Sterling Exploration and Energy Production Company, SEEPCO, the operator of OPL 280, now OML 143. Ladies and gentlemen, while I have no intention to overstate the obvious, permit me to inform the Honorable Minister and regulators here that SEEPCO commenced operation in 2014 without registering its presence in the state. The company also has continued to operate in the state without compliance with the extant laws and regulations governing the exploration and exploitation of hydrocarbon resources. These include lack of environmental impact assessment, EIA, lack of DPR permits for exploration, well drilling, pipe laying, facility construction, etc. Lack of verifiable host community engagements, corporate social responsibility, or community development projects. Honorable Minister, it is the hope of Anambra State that today's meeting will assess the extent of which SEEPCO has complied with the stipulations of the communique under reference and ensure full compliance by SEEPCO and its joint venture partner NNPC. This will be further addressed by the submission of Anambra State at this meeting. In addition to fulfilling the stipulations spelled out in the communique under reference, that SEEPCO should provide adequate technical information on its activities and above all, declare its production from Amish field as it relates to Anambra State. Honorable Minister, I also want to urge you to use your good office to help us assess the ecological fund, to help us avert the climate disaster that we are facing in Anambra State. Again, we are counting on you to ensure that SEEPCO complies with the EIA requirements to sustain our quest to become a member of oil and gas producing states of Nigeria.
The development of our nation's hydrocarbon resources is one of the central agenda of President Muhammad Buhari's led administration. I'm equally aware of His Excellency Jubilee Obiano's desire to bring about the development of the oil and gas potentials of Anambra State, and also the protection of the environment and the livelihood of the good people of Anambra State. In exploiting the nation's abundant hydrocarbon reserves, however, extreme caution must be taken in ensuring that the best practices from the environmental perspective are adopted so that our future and that of our children is not jeopardized. It is therefore important that concerted efforts are made to identify the potential negative impacts of this project and plan for their mitigation to be put in place. I urge this gathering to pay particular attention to issues such as flooding, decline in biodiversity. Whatever is done must not tamper with the biodiversity and the fishing capabilities of our people. Also, land degradation, oil spill, waste management, as well as social, cultural, and gender-based issues must be looked into. These matters, if not properly handled, could create social upheavals and civil unrest. So these issues must be examined with the overall objective of making this project environmentally compliant. One of the most important articles in the Rio Declaration was the Principle 17, which states inter alia that environmental impact assessment as a national instrument shall be undertaken for proposed activities that are likely to have a significant adverse impact on the environment and are subject to a decision of the competent national authority. And that competent national authority being the Federal Ministry of Environment. At the execution of this project we're here today, it was observed that SEEPCO did not obtain all the required regulatory permits before ever embarking on drilling at the site. This was a clear violation of Section 62 of the Environmental Impact Assessment Act. Consequent upon this, a stop work order dated the 6th of July 2020 was issued by the Ministry of Environment to SEEPCO on the legal activities. But beyond the stop work order, I want to state clearly here today that my ministry shall ensure that the full extent of the law is brought to bear on any erring party. Of note, however, in this stakeholders meeting, which is aimed at arbitrating and resolving the issues between the Anambra State government and Sterling Petroleum. As you heard the governor say, this meeting is sequel to an earlier meeting held between SEEPCO and Anambra State government at the offices of the Federal Ministry of Environment, where a communique was issued and signed by both parties towards a conducive working environment for the development of oil and gas potential. I'm particularly glad that the community concerned, the direct community concerned, are here today represented. So it is my ardent hope and belief that the proceedings of this stakeholder meeting shall put forward far-reaching ideas and recommendations that will assist in making the proposed Amishi field development project to be executed to the highest level of environmental sustainability. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all a fruitful deliberation, but please let us all bring all the issues to the fore. Environmental degradation is not what we want for our land in Anambra. Please, I want us all to work together towards protecting our environment for the next generation. For I believe that economic growth and environmental protection can go hand in hand and should go hand in hand. Let us bear in mind that we won't have a society if we destroy the environment.
Speaker after speaker delved into the intricacies of the matter at hand in a bid to persuade SEEPCO to straighten up its acts in Anambra State.
And consequent to investigations that were conducted by the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Relations, the Federal Ministry of Environment, the Naval Headquarters, Defense Headquarters, the Department of Petroleum Resources. All these investigations included visits to the operations of SEEPCO in Obaru, and some of the visits witnessed ugly and hostile and life-threatening reactions by SEEPCO and its hired thugs and agents. OML 143, for those who do not know, straddles Anambra and Delta. It crosses both states. And what SEEPCO would have us agree to is that they obtain permissions from DPR for wells in Delta and use those permissions for activities in Anambra State. That is unjust, that's unfair. And that is what we have refused. It has become necessary to tell the stories such that you understand the context that has brought us here today, but also such that SEEPCO understands the determination of the government of Anambra State and the utter determination of the Anambra State Oil and Gas Development Committee that SEEPCO conducts its operations in Anambra State as a truthful, conscientious corporate citizen, fully recognizing the rights of the people and recognizing and keeping to the laws of the land.
There is a growing belief in the state that if it were not for the path chosen by SEEPCO since it began oil exploration in the state, Anambra would have since joined the League of Oil-Producing States in the country. There are speculations, therefore, and rightly so, that SEEPCO is spearheading a grave economic sabotage of Anambra State.
The tone of the communique was clear that SEEPCO was being reprimanded for not following the due process and being urged to begin the process of formalizing their stay in Anambra State. And as His Excellency had assured over time, protecting SEEPCO and ensuring that they have a hitch-free operation in Anambra, so long as they follow the ethical practice that will lead the state into becoming an oil-producing state.
Indeed, the violence done to the ecology of Anambra State without the smallest compensation is unimaginable. Many indigenes of Obaru made spirited efforts to capture their experiences in words, but there are still so much left unsaid.
SEEPCO has now accepted that they did not do EIA and they have now commenced, they want to commence the EIA. We entered a communique, an agreement with them and this EIA is supposed to start. And part of this EIA will now be the social responsibility agreement. What are they supposed to do? We'll identify those for the community, and it will be annexed just to the EIA, and it becomes an agreement for which they can be taken to court if they don't fulfill. Damage has been done. We want to go and measure the extent of damage. They will also sign on paper, yes, we caused all this damage. This is what we want to do. So they have also accepted that while EIA process is going on, that they will start remedial action on the place now that there's dry season, because they have to remedy the place, or else the place has been devastated. Total devastation.
The time has come to call SEEPCO to order, to insist that it must adhere to the articles of its own code of conduct, and to ensure that the daylight robbery of Anambra State is brought to an immediate halt. Nigeria is a country of laws. Any investor who has no real intention of obeying the law or respecting its basic protocols will have no choice than to reevaluate itself. As the saying goes, a stitch in time saves 9.
With all our hearts, we pray and ask, God bless Anambra, God bless the shining light that we bear. We're the only ones to make her brighter, the only ones to make her better, the only ones to make Anambra shine.